Oh, you're recording!
Renae Marsden drove to the Sydney eastern suburb and never returned home. The actions of an individual over the web wasn't just an internet prank. It went beyond that, playing on Renae's emotions and leading to the damaging effects of psychological torment. Renae was born October 15, 1992, in Fairfield Hospital in Australia, to Teresa Marsden and Jamie Deeth. Her parents separated when Renae was about 2 years old, and when she was about 5, her mother met Mark Marsden. A year later, her and her mother were living together with Mark. In 2000, Teresa and Mark married. They have 3 children, Luke, Jake, and Monique. And when Renae was 18 of age, Renae adopted Mark's surname, Marsden. Renae was a bright young woman, caring, loving, and just had this bubbly personality. She was forgiving almost to a fault, but the issue was the people Renae loved and cared for, who took advantage of this and her trust in others. The year was 2010. Renae Marsden was just 18, working as a hairdresser's apprentice in Sydney, Australia, where she lived with her family. Things seemed to be looking out for Renae. Her life was on the right track. She was working towards a good career. She was in a happy and loving relationship.
You cut your hair. No, she didn't actually. So funny story. She was the trainee apprentice, the hairdresser apprentice who, when I would come in, she would wash my hair and give me a head massage. I used to go in not needing a haircut, but just as an excuse to see her and meet her. She was very bubbly, beautiful, kind, very down to earth.
But sadly, this would come to an end, as the same year Renae found out her boyfriend was cheating on her. Angus, her boyfriend at the time, denied it, but Renae had proof. She had text messages between him and another girl. Luckily, Renae overcame the heartbreak as she had just met a new man. This man, Brayden Spiteri, was 23 years old. She had met him through a friend, a best friend, Camila Zaydan, who was actually Brayden's ex-girlfriend. But Camila, being the friend that she was, didn't mind introducing the two. She wanted to help Renae recover from her breakup. Brayden was a graduate of the exclusive King School and set to take over his wealthy father's multi-million-dollar construction business. Renae's and Brayden's relationship quickly became intensely emotional. Renae even went to a tattoo parlor with Camila to get a B. Spiteri on the left side of her chest. The relationship was exclusively online. There were thousands of text messages just through the phone. That's not including Facebook Messenger. So they were texting on both through SMS and through Facebook as well. Renae would send texts and voice notes to Brayden, and he would in turn send her photos, even with one photo being of Camila, who had her arms around Brayden. When Renae's mother saw this photo, being the loving and caring mother she was, she did not like this. To Teresa, the photo made it seem that the two were still together, Brayden and Camila. But she decided to overlook this, as her daughter was finally happy. Weeks went on without the two, Renae and Brayden, ever meeting. Although their relationship was strong, the two only ever got to know each other over Messenger. Brayden always had something come up every time they were to meet. Eventually, they decided to build their relationship through text, and the thought of meeting up became something for another time. Well, that wouldn't happen anytime soon. In January 2012, almost a year into the relationship, Brayden got into a horrible motorcycle accident in which he lost a friend, Ronnie. Brayden then told Renae he was accused of manslaughter and sentenced to 2 years for the death of his friend, as the judge had determined the cause of the accident was due to reckless driving on Brayden's part. Now, as you can imagine, Renae was shocked by this, but to add to the devastation, Brayden was not allowed visitations. So after all the times their meetup had been postponed, Renae knew she would have to wait another 2 years if she wanted to see her boyfriend for the first time. Despite all this, the couple worked through it, and Brayden even managed to get his phone smuggled in by Camila, who had passed the phone to his lawyer. So you probably have 2 questions on your mind. How was he sentenced to only 2 years behind bars? Well, he gave up his visitation rights for a shorter sentence, And your next question is probably, how did he get his phone into his cell? Well, there have been many cases where prisoners will smuggle their phones into their jail cells. And with Brayden, he comes from a very powerful family, and we're just going to assume that his lawyer is also very intelligent and very powerful. But moving on, in 2012, Teresa commented under a photo Angus had posted over Facebook. As I mentioned, Angus was Renee's ex-boyfriend. When Brayden saw that Teresa left this comment, he was furious. He started to harass Teresa and say that she was a bad mother for still keeping in touch with Renee's ex. Teresa and Brayden did not have a good relationship. In May of that same year, Teresa told her daughter she didn't like Brayden and she felt he was rude and arrogant. And she did not refrain from telling Brayden the same. She told Brayden, "If you're the man you claim to be, you will leave my daughter." And surprisingly, Brayden agreed to break things off with Renae. Renae also told her mother that she would break things off, but she said she would continue to be his friend. However, the relationship most likely continued as the couple planned to get married right after Brayden was released from prison. Renae even contacted a wedding photographer and bought a tiara off eBay. Renae was fully committed to marrying this man. On August 12, 2012, Renae had learned from Brayden that he was possibly being granted release from prison. The next month, she ended up in the hospital after an overdose, telling her mother their relationship had ended and she was, quote, happy to be alive. In 2013, Renae became involved and engaged briefly to a work colleague named Ian. However, Brayden was jealous of this relationship. He constantly threatened Ian. When Ian gave Renae an ultimatum to choose between him and Brayden, she chose the latter in March 2013. On August 5th that same year, 2 months before Brayden's supposed release from prison, he decided to break things off with Renae so bluntly. Renae was once again heartbroken, but more so this time around. This was the man she knew she would marry, so as you can imagine, Renae was broken. That same day, Brayden sent a message to Teresa to tell her that he was worried about her daughter, and that Renae had been talking about taking her own life. In the text, it read, "Sort your daughter out. She's threatening to kill herself." Teresa replies, "Please explain to me why a young woman would want to kill herself." Brayden writes, "Ask her yourself." Teresa went up to her daughter's bedroom and Renae was sitting on the edge of her bed. She asked her what was going on and Renae said that she was fine and she would not harm herself. Teresa then showed Renae the text from Brayden. Renae told her mom, "Mom, you don't have to worry about him anymore. I finally found out what he is all about." That afternoon, Renae told her mother she was going out with friends. Unfortunately, Renae was never seen alive again. A few hours after Renae left the house to go out with some friends, Teresa received a text message from her daughter that said the following, "I love you so much. I'm sorry for everything and the pain I will cause you, but I'll be okay. I'll still be here and be around. When you need to talk to me, just call my name and I'll be there. You're the most amazing person and mother ever and my very best friend. I wasn't happy and I need you to understand that. It's okay. Don't let this ruin everyone else you need to take care of, okay? I need you to be strong for me. I love you, Mama. I always will, and I'll be waiting when you come. Renae." Teresa tried to call her daughter, but Renae's phone was off. After sending her daughter a text, she called Camila to see if she knew where Renae was. Camila said that she too received a somewhat strange text from Renae. She offered to pick Teresa up and take her to where she believed Renae would go. Camila and her mother drove Teresa to a McDonald's and even Brayden's sister's house. Unfortunately, they didn't have any luck finding her. At around 9 p.m., the police arrived at Renae's home where she had lived with her parents to see if she had made it to the house safely. The police informed her parents that Renae's car was found abandoned at a strange location. Inside the car was a Valentine's card from Brayden and a phone Renae had once used to text Brayden with. She had also written the words, "I love you, Brayden," on her window. The police couldn't find Renae, thus why they felt that she might have been home, but they quickly realized she was not. The police, along with Renee's mother and father, went to the Gap, a steep cliff overlooking the ocean. This was also the location where Renee's car had appeared. Once there, Teresa discovered Renee's shoes on one of the highest points of the cliff, right in front of a fence that prevented people from getting too close to the edge of the cliff. Then they found something bizarre. Police discovered a camera pointing at the section of the cliff. On the camera was something shockingly disturbing. When they looked at the images, they saw Renae appearing to walk along a path at night. All of a sudden, she takes her shoes off, makes it to the other side of the fence. With sheer terror on her face, she walks along the edge. Then, she leans against the fence, pulls her phone out and sends the one message to her mother, one to her best friend Camila and one to Brayden. After this, she chucks the phone off the cliff and shortly thereafter, herself. Her body was never recovered and her death was declared a suicide. But there's a twist to this story that sadly Renae will never know about. Renee's family tried to contact Brayden to see if he knew anything about her disappearance, but it was impossible to reach him. Camila actually told Teresa not to contact him because, quote, he was hurting too, so we have to leave him. Teresa asked Camila, how would you know how he's feeling? She also let Camila know that they had already given the police Brayden's number. And in that very moment, Camila's whole demeanor changed. She told Teresa she couldn't give Brayden's phone number to the police. Of course, Teresa was confused. Why couldn't she? Well, Brayden vanished, never to be heard of again. The police did, however, contact Goulburn prison where Brayden was serving his 2-year sentence. But as I mentioned, Brayden disappeared. The agent was informed by the prison that there were no inmates there named Brayden Spiteri. Why couldn't they find him? How did he just cease to exist? Well, they couldn't find Brayden because this person didn't exist. So, who was behind all these messages? Someone was clearly texting Renae. Shockingly, the person behind these messages was no other than Camila. Yes, Camila, Renee's so-called best friend, had been Brayden all along. And the reason for this catfishing scheme is strange and bizarre in itself. To give this story a bit of context, we're going to have to go back to when Camila and Renae met in 2008. They were only in high school, but from that moment on, Camila became very possessive over Renae. Renae and Camila were only 14 when they had a short, intimate relationship. When Renae left school in year 10 and started dating a boy, Camila became extremely angry. Renae's father, Mommy Marsden, said, "There was something wrong with Camila." Renae said that she'd follow her to work because she stopped taking her phone calls. She wanted to be number one and she couldn't come to terms with anyone else being in the relationship that Renae had. In fact, in 2009, the pair, Renae and Camila, and their mothers met at a cafe. Teresa informed Camila's mom she did not want the friendship to continue. After this, Camila became furious. Her first deceptive ploy was to convince Renae that her boyfriend she had been with for 2 years didn't love her and was cheating on her. Yes, that boyfriend, the one Renae broke up with, Angus. Renae believed the text messages Camila had falsified. Once that relationship was over, Camila quickly introduced Renae to Brayden. This was her way of keeping Renae close, and it worked because they rekindled their friendship at this time. Here's the bizarre and disturbing twist. Renae trusted Brayden enough to tell him Camila was toxic and very controlling. Thus, she wanted to end their friendship. In fact, Renae was fed up with her friend's possessiveness, so when Camila left the country on holiday, Renae took the opportunity to sever ties. She sent her a message saying, "Camila, I'm done for good with our friendship. When you come home, please don't contact me." When Teresa asked Renae why she had to wait till Camila left the country, Renae said that she wouldn't be able to hurt her or harm her if she was far away. But Camila had other ways to hurt Renae. She sought to regain control over Renae by making Brayden break up with her. Brayden broke up with Renae 2 months later. A devastated Renae could not get a hold of him. She called Goulburn prison for the first time to ask about him. It's not known what she was told by the prison, but records show she did not speak to anyone named Brayden in her 90-second call. 91 text messages between Brayden and Renae were made. But only Renae would know the contents of those messages, as the phone was swept away to sea. It was believed when she made the call to the prison she found out the truth about Brayden. Brayden was not real. She was being lied to. However, she probably would have called out Camila, and we know she never did in her last text message to her mom. There is a chance she texted Camila this, however, investigators don't think this is likely. And we'll never know exactly what Renae texted Camila, as Camila claims she accidentally deleted this last text. I personally do not believe this. I think Camila just likes to control people's emotions, and she knows she can do this by lying and fabricating stories. One of the many lies Camila told Renae's family was telling her mother, Teresa, that Renae unalived herself because, quote, she was unhappy at home. But she also told Teresa everything Renae told her mother about Camila, such as Renae being violent, abusive, and angry.
Everything Renae told me about her, she was telling me about Renae, that Renae was very violent. Renae used to bash her. Renae was seeking help because she couldn't control her temper. I couldn't believe it. I'm thinking, I'm beside myself. I've just lost my daughter and you're worried about yourself.
Police returned Renae's old phone to her parents as they could not crack it. However, Renae's little brother had a 13-year-old friend who was able to find an app to unlock the messages that were inside the phone. Teresa's father made a chart with all the text messages, and when looking at this chart, he realized there was a pattern that pointed out Camila was clearly playing as Brayden. There were 11,000 text messages between Renae and Brayden and Renae and Camila over 3 months between March to June 2013. Police investigated Camila, who had assumed the identity of Brayden Spiteri. She bought a BlackBerry phone to engage Renae in an intimate relationship spanning nearly 2 years. Leading Senior Constable Georgina Robinson scheduled an appointment with Camila and asked her to make notes about her friendship with Renae, her knowledge of Brayden, and the text messages and communication she had with Renae in the weeks leading up to her disappearance. On August 25, 2013, Camila attended the police station for the scheduled appointment. She provided a 2-page handwritten statement to the constable. It began with her saying, quote, "Renae messaged me 5:47. I'm sorry for everything. You will always be my best friend. I hope one day you can forgive me. I love you. XOXO." The notes did not mention Brayden or the relationship Renae had with him. At the end of this meeting, Constable Robinson said to Camila, "I want you to be honest with me. The telephone call logs that I have here in front of me suggest to me that you are Brayden. Are you?" Renae replied, "No, I know a lot of people think I am. Everyone is against me. I wish I was where Renae is now, wherever she is. I just want to have the peace she is feeling now. We could have been together. Do you think she is really gone?" Did panic set in? Did Camila know she was in trouble and there was no way to escape it? On September 23, 2013, the police executed a search warrant to locate the mobile telephone Camila had used for the purpose of Brayden. However, the search fell through as the police couldn't locate the phone or the SIM card. They did, however, seize other items, including letters Renae had written to Camila while they were in school, and ripped up letters to Brayden in an envelope which had been thrown in the trash. The same day, Senior Constable Walker Lear said to Camila, "Is there anything you want to talk to me about? I'm happy to listen." Camila was sitting on the sofa when she said, "I was sending the text messages to Renae before I left for America in March. Renae asked me to. She wanted me to pretend that I was Brayden." Constable Walker Lear asked, "Why would Renae want you to pretend to be Brayden?" Camila replied, "I don't know. I just did it because she wanted me to. I didn't do anything else. What's going to happen to me?" Constable Walker Lear replied, "At this stage, Camila, we are just interested in finding out what has happened to Renae." Camila claimed Renae knew Brayden wasn't real and that she was involved into the creation of Brayden. According to Camila, they created this fake persona to hide their homosexual relationship from family and friends. But if this were the case, why was she hiding so much from the police, even going as far as ripping up letters and disposing of them in the trash? Camila was even granted immunity, and yet she continued to lie. It seemed more likely to investigators that the motive was for Camila to keep Renae for herself. Camila was a jealous and possessive and abusive friend, going as far as harassing Renee's boyfriends and stalking Renae while she was out on a date.
She was magnificent at driving a wedge between Renee and I for about 3 years.
Why?
She was just jealous. She didn't want Renee to sleep over my house anymore. She didn't want Renee to come to the movies with me or to parties with me, to go out clubbing with me.
I swear to God, kid, you're going nowhere. Do you understand? You abuse me, I'll laugh. You kill me, I'll be your ghost. You hate me, I'll still love you. Run away, chase you. You hide, I'll hunt you down.
By catfishing Renae, Camila was able to gain control of Renee's emotions and keep tabs on her at all times. To add to this disturbing case, Renae sent nude photos and videos of herself, which Camila obviously had without her consent. Sadly, Renae had neither a friend or a boyfriend, but an individual in her life that masqueraded as both in order to control her. Teresa said she told us they were in a relationship and we would not accept the fact that they were together. Camila was obsessed with Renae. She couldn't have her as a female, so she created the male. The coroner concluded there was no evidence Renae and Camila were romantically involved and declared Camila's evidence was nothing but a pack of lies. Police have never laid charges against Camila, despite multiple interviews, statements, search warrants, and a thorough police investigation. Since her passing, the Marsdens have started a petition calling for catfishing to be made illegal in Australia. I'll link that below. Renae was manipulated, she was deceived, she was lied to, she was controlled. It was coercive, morally, ethically, it doesn't matter. It should be illegal now, Mark Marsden said. I should also mention that the photos of Brayden belong to Cameron Lang, who says he had never met Renae or Camila and doesn't exactly know how there's a photo of him with her. He said he became recluse once it became known his photo was being used because of the stares and blame he was receiving by people who wrongly accused him of being responsible for Renae's death. Despite this, he and the Marsdens have been able to bond over the trauma of Renae's death and regularly keep in touch.
I trusted you. You came into my home. My home, I trusted you. You could have told me any time.
In a case such as this one, it makes you wonder who is legally responsible. There are no laws against catfishing. In most cases, being lied to is not illegal. Crimes associated with catfishing include stalking, fraud, and identity theft. However, psychological and emotional manipulation is not actionable. I recently made a video about a mother who catfished, cyberstalked, and bullied her own daughter. In this case, the mother pled guilty to 5 charges, including stalking a minor, and obstruction of justice, and sentenced to serve 19 months to 5 years in prison. But it's not easy aligning these cases with other elements of the law. Let's look at a case such as Netflix's Sweet Bobby, where Kirat Assi was catfished for nearly a decade. Kirat thought she was speaking to a cardiologist named Bobby Jundu, someone she knew from her Sikh community. Then, about a decade later, she finally came face to face with the real Bobby and his wife. Seeing them together made Kirat angry. She lashed out at him. She was hysterical, crying, yelling. Little did she know that she had been catfished by her own cousin. Now this makes this case so much more complicated. What are the legal consequences? Does the real Bobby press charges? Does this fall under identity theft? It's complicated. Initially, when Kirat went to the police, they dismissed her claims. Since then, apparently the case has been reopened, so it's interesting to see what would go on with a case like that. I'll link the 2 cases below if you're interested in learning more. At an age where we are constantly online, it's very difficult to apply laws to cross-border catfishing. Catfishing is sadly a global phenomenon, which makes things even more complicated. I must say technological progress has made it even more challenging because of how easy it is to take on a new persona, from AI voice generators, photos, and videos as well. It's honestly so scary. I would love to hear your thoughts on this case. Do you think it should be illegal, and how would we even go about doing that? I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay safe.